Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be going over how to stay active as a hybrid athlete dad in the winter. I don't know if you've noticed outside, but at least where I live, it's definitely has gotten a lot chillier in the past few weeks. So I thought it was just perfect to dive into today's episode of just talking about being a hybrid athlete dad in the winter and really what that entails. If you listen to any of the previous episodes, I like to do a recap of what's going on when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to fitness, and really anything that I think would be pertainable and would be helpful on this podcast. But honestly, I really don't have that much to give a recap on. Training during the winter, obviously, right now, and that's why I thought it would be great to record this episode and just give you my experience. A couple things I did want to share that I thought would just be interesting and something I'm testing out that's a little bit newer. But one being, did wall balls at the gym today. First time doing those. I might have done those a very long time ago, but I did 50 wall balls just to test it out. I can already feel and my legs are pretty sore. I've been following Nick Bear and him doing the High Rocks event and just looking at what all of that is and just decided, hey, I'm going to end my leg day workout doing some wall balls. I had already done squats. I had already done goblet squats and leg press and lunges. So doing the wall balls, I don't know if that's why my legs are hurting. Probably the other four exercises I had done today, but they definitely probably aren't helping. So honestly, kind of afraid with the next day or two. Definitely recording this on a Wednesday, what Friday is going to feel like when I wake up, because I have a feeling my legs are going to be pretty sore from it. So tested that out. Really enjoy doing those wall balls. Now, the nice part is my gym would typically be open at 5:30 a.m. and then close depending on 7, 8, 9. I'm not sure the exact time because I don't go later in the day. And then on the weekends it'd be open on like 7 on Saturdays, 8 on Sundays. But what's nice is that they now have 24 access to my gym. It's not a commercial gym, it's just a local gym that I go to. And what's nice is on Mondays and Thursdays, I know my workouts are going to be longer, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I get home in time for my daughter gets up. Right now, she's been getting up about 7 a.m. She did have one day last week where she got up at 8:30 a.m. and that was pretty amazing. I was like, wow, she slept quite a bit, but we had traveled over the weekend, so I guess we didn't really expect it, but for her to sleep that late was definitely a little unusual. Again, she's usually up about, it had been about 7:30, but lately it's been about 7 a.m. So what I like to do is I like to leave the gym no later than 6:50. I live about 10 minutes from the gym. That way I can get home and my daughter is just waking up about that time. But on Mondays right now, I'm doing deadlifts. And when I usually do my exercises, I have a 1 minute rest in between the exercises that I do. Sometimes I might do 30 seconds depending on what the exercise might be. As an example, if I'm doing cable pull downs for my triceps, I'm just going to do a 30-second rest. If I'm doing flies, I'm going to do a 30, or shoulder flies, I should specify. I'm going to do a 30-second rest. If I'm squatting, I'm going to do a minute rest. Well, when I'm doing deadlifts, I find that I don't know if it's so much that I'm out of breath, but I just need a little bit more time to rest. And then, stupidly, I wasn't doing any warm ups. I don't really know why I wasn't doing that, but I think I was just feeling not so much crunch for time, but I just wanted to make sure that I could get back for my daughter at 7 a.m. and I knew how long this workout was going to take. So now I'm able to get to the gym a little bit early, and all I do is I get up at 4:30 on Mondays and Thursdays. I get to the gym. I roll into the gym about 5:10, and I start my workout. I do about 10 minutes of stretching, and then I start my workout about 20 minutes earlier than what I usually do, and that's been very beneficial. On Thursdays, it's not so much the deadlift that I want to take my time on. On Thursdays, it's more that I just have a lot of exercises to do. I do about 10 or so exercises on Thursdays. A lot of them are quick, but I do a lot for the back, do some shoulders and do some triceps right now. And just doing 10 different exercises, it just takes a little bit while to get there, especially when I'm doing 3 to 4 sets per exercise. So it's really nice that now that gym is 24 hours access, so I can pretty much go. I say anytime that I want, but I mean I'm not gonna probably go 1 a.m. or 11 p.m. at night. But it is nice to be able to have that option to get the 24 hours access and to be able to go a little bit earlier. Excuse me, a little bit earlier in the morning. Now, I really want to dive into today's episode again. That's what I'm going on right now is trying out the wall balls. I think I want to incorporate them more into my workout and then having the gym, the 24-hour access. Now, really diving into today's episode is how to stay active as a hybrid athlete dad in the winter. If you're like me, especially when it comes to the running, and that's really what I'm going to be gearing this episode towards because going to the gym, it's not as bad. I mean, it's just cold getting into the car and whatnot and driving to the gym. But now that it's running is definitely different when I had been running in the fall, when I had been running in the summer, and I had been running in the spring, those 3 seasons. Now I'm running in the winter. It's definitely a whole new ball game. And I'm not sure where everyone listening to this podcast lives in the country, but I live in upstate New York. So far, the coldest that I have ran is when it's been 11 degrees out. But next week, it's actually going to be 2 days in the single digits. It's going to be like 7 degrees and maybe 9 degrees the next day. I think one of those 2 days is on a Sunday, Monday. So I'll be running at least on that Monday when it's in the single digits. So it's fairly cold out there this time of year where I am in New York. Not every day is like that. Usually most days are going to be in your 20s, low 30s. But I do have these days where it's going to be freezing and I don't have a treadmill. I'm not really, not that I don't enjoy, not that I don't like treadmills. I just prefer being outside and running. But that's going to be a whole new set of challenges trying to get out there and run when it's 11 degrees versus being inside and running on a treadmill. So this is really for the person that wants to run outside during the winter, but it's also freezing out and it's everything is telling you to stay inside. And honestly, I feel way more resistance in the winter than I do in the summer when it comes to running. I feel as though in the summer I can run typically in the morning and it's never like that hot. I think the hottest I ran in the summer was like 95 degrees. I don't recommend that. At least that wasn't enjoyable for me. But usually I could get out there in the summer and be like no hotter than like 75, maybe touch 80 on the way home. Obviously didn't really enjoy that, but I would just go out and do it. I didn't have to worry. The only thing I had to worry about was being more hot than anything else. Where in the winter, a lot of the times the skies are gray. There's no sun for days on end. Pretty depressing place, honestly, to live in. I enjoy living here, but I'm assuming that there's other parts of the country where it's a little bit nicer during the winter. But I just feel way more resistance in the winter. I think part of it is when I drive to the gym in the morning, it is my car. I have my car in my garage, so I get in, and yeah, it's cold, but it's really not that bad. But when I get out of the gym in the morning, and it's say 20 degrees out, and I'm getting back into my car. Well, I'm making the gym walk from the gym to my car, and for some reason, it's like that walk when it's 20 degrees out. I just get absolutely frozen. I go into the car. The car hasn't warmed up yet, and I'm cold getting into that car. And I'm in my mind, I know that okay, I have to. Once I get home, I'm gonna be running in like an hour or so. I'm gonna be running outside in this weather, and I'm just freezing getting into this car. And now I have to go outside and be in this weather for an hour, knowing that I'm probably going to be a little bit chilly during it. So there's really that resistance that I feel more so in the winter than I do any other month or have felt in any other month. And I think, again, it just goes back to being in the cold. I mean, I want to be warm. I want to be inside. I want to feel warm. I don't want to go outside and just start having the chills and shivering. That's not necessarily what I want. Even though it might take a mile or two to warm up, and then I'm typically pretty good, but it's just getting through that first mile or two that's out there. Right now, I'm running about 30 miles per week. I don't have any races coming up for the time being, but in addition to the running the 30 miles, I'm also strength training 5 days a week. So really, like right now, what it looks like is that I'm running 5 miles on Monday, 6 miles on Tuesday, 5 miles on Wednesday. Thursday, giving myself a rest day. Friday, I'm running anywhere from 8 to 10 miles. And then on Saturday, I'm running 5 miles. And then Sunday is a full complete rest day. No running, no strength training. But I'm also working out at the gym, doing the strength training Monday through Friday. And that's really how I like to structure it right now. So on average, I'm running about, usually most of the time, I mean, I'm not really doing too fast paced unless I'm doing a tempo run. So on average, I'm doing about 9-minute miles while I'm out there. So I mean, I'm out there for 9 times 3. What is that? 270, and then whatever divided by 60. We're looking at anywhere from 4 to 5 hours outside per week in the cold. So that's really what I'm looking at right now. Now, the best way I found to stay active in the winter when it comes to these runs, when it's really cold out, is making sure that you have your clothes to wear for the cold. So what that looks like for me right now, and I always just wear pretty much on my feet, I wear the same Hokas that I've always ran in, and I wear pretty much the same socks. Those two don't differ in any sense of form. Now, when it comes to my legs, usually what I'll do is if it's 40 degrees and up, I'm just going to be running in my shorts. If it's between 20 degrees and 40, let's say 39 degrees, so 20 degrees to 39 degrees, I'm going to be wearing leggings and shorts. If it's going to be under 20 degrees, then I'm going to be wearing leggings, and I have a pair of Noble pants that I wear. Or if it's like 20-mile-an-hour winds and I can really see the wind whistling, I'm also going to be wearing pants in that scenario as well. So that's what I wear for my legs. Now, for my, I guess you could consider my top, if it's 40 degrees and above, I'm going to be wearing basically like the shirt I have on now, an Under Armour shirt, and then I have a long sleeve quarter zip that I wear as well. Now, if we're talking anywhere from honestly about 30 degrees to 40 degrees, I'm going to, or let's say, 30 to 39 degrees, I'm going to be wearing a long sleeve Under Armour shirt similar to this. I actually got it in a race they ran, and then I'll wear the long sleeve quarter zip because I find about halfway through when I have to pull the sleeves up, if it's going to be about 20 degrees to 30 degrees outside, I'm going to be wearing usually a shirt like I have on right here, and then I'm going to be wearing a fleece Under Armour quarter zip, and that typically keeps me warm enough for it. Now, if we're talking 20 degrees and under, I'm going to be wearing an Under Armour Cold Gear long sleeve, I guess you could call it a shirt, whatever material they have, and then the Under Armour fleece quarter zip as well. So if it's very cold out, I'm going to be wearing the leggings, the pants, the Cold Gear long sleeve, and then the fleece on top of it. Now, usually if it's about anywhere under 40 degrees, I'm going to be wearing a hat. If it's 40 degrees and over, I'll see what does the weather feel like? Is it sunny? What is the wind? But usually if it's 40 degrees and under, I'm going to be wearing a hat. I just wear a Smart Wool hat. It's lightweight. It seems to do the trick. My head never really gets that cold. And then if it's 40 degrees and up, I'll make a judgment call whether or not I feel as though I need the hat. Now, I also wear running gloves. So if it's 40 degrees and up, and what that means is sometimes there might be 40 degrees, 45 degrees in the winter here. And you get those weird days, and then you get those days where it's very cold. But when it's about 40 to 45 degrees, I'll wear a pair of New Balance running gloves. I wore those for my marathon. They're lightweight. They're perfect. Typically anything under 40 degrees and under, I'm going to be wearing a pair of North Face. I guess they would be considered running gloves, and they keep my hands nice and warm. I mean, I wore them when it was 11 degrees and didn't have any problems. I knew that I needed them because when I wore the New Balance running gloves when it was about 20 degrees, I couldn't really move my fingers that well when I got done running. I never worried about having them frostbit or anything like that. They just didn't do really an effective job of controlling the cold on my fingers. And when you're running, like I don't want to be cold, but I also at the same time have to figure out how many layers I'm going to be putting on. And it reminds me of like when I'm going skiing, where I'd rather put on a little bit one too many layers than be able to take it off, than put on one too many less layers, and then when I'm on these runs, I don't have anything to to put on. Sometimes I might be, depending on which day I'm running and which route I'm running, sometimes I might stay close to my house. Sometimes I might, like last Friday, doing a 10-mile run. I'm 5 miles out from my house, so I don't have an option if I get cold. Some days like today, when I'm doing a run, I'm gonna be about a mile from my house. So you have your ebbs and flows and how far you're gonna be running and how cold that's gonna be out. I also wear a headlamp on Saturdays. So on Saturdays, I like to get up and go for a run early. I have my alarm set for 6:15. Honestly, I wake up definitely earlier than when I get up at 4:30, 4:50 every single day, and then I try to get up at 6:15 on Saturdays and just sleep a little bit later. It's more difficult to do. So honestly, I'm usually out the door by 6:15. Where I am in New York, the sun doesn't come up until about 7:20 in the morning right now. So I like to have that headlamp on when I'm running, and then even when the sun does come up, and I don't really need it because I can see the road perfectly clear. I do like to leave that headlamp on just to make sure cars can see me. Excuse me, and all the traffic can make sure that they see me. And then on top of that, I hadn't done it as much in the summer, and I started doing it more in the winter. And I wish I had been doing it all along. Yeah, but I wear a vest. I wear a nice reflective vest. So in the mornings, on Saturday mornings when I'm running early, it has like two buttons on it, and you click it, and it'll light it up. But during the weekdays, or running where it's already light out, I can just put it on, and it has a nice reflector over it. I got it on Amazon. I don't think I spent more than $20 on it. But if you haven't checked out Nick Bear's podcast, he goes over an episode where he was actually recently hit by a car when running, and he wasn't wearing any reflective clothing. Not to say that's any reason to get hit by a car, but for me, I was like, okay, like here's this guy who I really look up to, who got hit by a car, and luckily, outside some pretty good scrapes and some stitches on his elbow, he seemed to be doing fairly well. But he made a message and put it out there to make sure to wear reflective clothing. I'm like, okay, like no matter what, I'm gonna be wearing this vest because if I'm wearing a gray fleece and it's gray out, then I'm gonna wear it. But usually in my mind, I'd be like, okay, if it's sunny out, cars could probably see me. But at the same time, during the summer, not that people expect you to be running, but like in the winter when it's 11 degrees out, people probably don't expect me to be running. And not that there's a lot of turns or curves where I run that I have to be worried about, but there are a couple that I want to make sure that cars can see me and that I'm not going to be pushed off the road. So learning what to wear in the winter was the biggest thing for me, because I had never really worn more than some leggings and a quarter zip, and then as it progressively got colder, I couldn't wear that same outfit, and I made that mistake because I went out and I ran in that outfit and I froze, and I came back and I told my wife, okay, I gotta go to Dick's. I have to get better equipment for me to go out and when I'm running. So that was the biggest thing for me. Honestly, I found that when I was running in the winter and running in these cold months, the first week or two of doing it, that sucked. That was the hardest part. I mean, who wants to be running outside when it's 11 degrees and it's freezing and I just want to be inside? Or it was like one day last week and when I'm running and it's 35 degrees and it's freezing rain, but I know I got to get my run in. But I know that I'm pushing myself mentally, embracing this discomfort that I'm feeling. But really, again, those first 2 weeks of running outside in the cold, that's going to be the hardest. And it's just staying consistent with these runs, no matter if it's really snowing out, if it's raining, I should say, if it's windy, if it's 10 degrees outside. It might be a different story and occasionally we get it in New York and it might be in the negatives, it might be 10 degrees and it's -20 with the wind chill or -30 with the wind chill. I don't know if I'm going to be running outside now. That might be outside my wheelhouse of how far I'm looking to push myself. But I know that at least for 11 degrees, I can push myself. And I would imagine if it ticks down a few degrees from there, I'm going to be able to run outside in that weather. But I found the more that I started to run outside in the cold, I mean, I had been running all along, but I had just never experienced the cold like I have. Yeah, it would get a little chilly in the fall, but nothing like what I'm experiencing in the winter. And again, I found after the first week or two of doing it, my body started to acclimate. I started to get back in that mindset where it's like, oh, like I just don't feel like running today, but I'm still gonna push myself. So now it's like, okay, okay, this is the weather. Okay, this is what I'm gonna wear today. I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna go get my 5 mile run in today. And it just flipped that switch for me. But I had to really push through that resistance and that discomfort early on to get to that place and just really embrace the discomfort that you're going to feel, whether you're going out there and you're running in the cold or you're going out there and you're driving to the gym. Like every morning I drive to the gym, typically on a usual day, I'm leaving the house at 5:20. If it's Mondays, Thursdays, I'm leaving the house at 5 a.m. It's pitch dark out. I live more in the countryside, so there's not a ton of cars and there's not a ton of traffic, so there's not much to see on the way to the gym. And then I get out of the gym, and more often than not, it's still dark. There might be not so much of a sunrise, but it's still dark enough out. And that's hard when you get up and it's freezing and I just want to stay in my bed. But I know that the more that I face this resistance head on, the easier it's going to be to overcome this resistance going forward. And it really just embodies embracing the discomfort that you're going to feel. Again, whether that's going out and doing runs in the cold or whether that's getting up early and going to the gym when it's pitch dark out. And really, at the end of the day, just because it's the winter doesn't mean that you should stop working out. You shouldn't be giving your past, oh, it's too cold in the morning, I don't want to get out of bed. Because I can tell you that the day I ran, I think it was 11 miles in 6 degree. Let me back that up. When I ran 6 miles in 11-degree weather, and I came home and I just felt this massive sense of accomplishment knowing that most people that I see or that are outside probably aren't going to be wanting to run 6 miles in this weather. And I pushed myself and I embraced that discomfort. Or when it was last Wednesday and I look at the radar and the weather and it's just consistent rain the entire day. I mean, there wasn't 1 hour, 1 30-minute block where I could find where I could run without it not raining. And just, okay, I'm going to throw on my rain gear. I'm going to throw on my rain gloves. It's going to be freezing rain, but I'm going to push myself through it. Yeah, I come home and my feet are waterlogged and I look as though I just took a shower and I actually have to hop in the shower because of what I just went through. That's not comfortable. But I find that the more that I push myself and accomplish these, not even so much events, but just pushing myself during the running throughout the week, again, whether it's cold, whether it's raining, you just get that nice feeling, that nice sense of accomplishment. And I just want you to remember when you're getting up and you're going to the gym in the dark, whether you're running in the cold, just remember you're passing everyone that's staying home, that's not going to the gym because it's cold out, that's not taking that run outside because it's a little too cold out. And really, again, just because it's winter does not mean that you should stop working out. And that's really how to stay active as a hybrid athlete dad in the winter.